Today I'm joined by a very special guest, Ken Natori. Ken is the president of the Natori Company, a global brand celebrated for blending comfort, style, and functionality across lingerie, sleepwear, ready-to-wear home collections, and most importantly, scrubs in collaboration with Care+Wear. We partnered together. We've been working together since 2020 to design our premium scrubs collection for clinicians. And from day one, it's been a natural fit. Both of our brands share a commitment to thoughtful design that makes everyday items more comfortable and stylish. Ken, it's so great to have you here today. And as always, thank you so much for your partnership and for bringing Notori's design expertise to our Scrubs collection.
Of course, very happy to be here. Great to talk to you.
Yeah, awesome. So, before joining Natori, you took the non-traditional route of working in both media and finance, and then led e-commerce and licensing, and now serve as the president. How have these experiences influenced how you lead Natori today?
Um, Good question. So I'd say most importantly, this is a family business. For those of you not
Mhm.
familiar with us, my mother, Josie, started the business in 1977. So I think importantly for me, regardless of what I was doing here initially, was, the fact that I started off my career by being as far away from the business as possible. I'm an only child, um, and I was very committed to building my own career path. And to my parents' credit, they never really tried to pull me into the business. So I was, as you mentioned, I had this dream of being a broadcast journalist, of being, an anchor on SportsCenter. So I took an internship at Bloomberg in New York, out of undergrad. I worked my way on air, and was the reporter from the floor of the stock exchange for the last couple of years. Um, and really, I mean, to this day, if I'm being honest, like that's probably was like the most fun I've had at
I
work.
was
Like
going to say, that
it was
sounds
a,
like the
yeah,
coolest job ever.
it was a very cool job. It was a lot of fun. Still have a lot of great friends from the media industry, which is great because whenever anything exciting happens at Notori, they're willing to put me on air and do the interview, which is great. But so I did that for 5 years. Ultimately, decided to go to business school, and then both my parents worked on Wall Street, so I did as well for a couple of years out of business school. And it wasn't until 2007 that I realized that. Ignoring this opportunity to work at Natori was just it was a little bit sort of stubborn and an oversight, and I had this chance to really help pave the future of a company as opposed to just working at an investment bank. um, and so I think having that background and having careers and degrees elsewhere really helped me as I did join Natori, not just in terms of like the skills I'd learned from those other positions, but also just being comfortable and feeling like I had like sort of earned my spot here as opposed to, just being here because I was, part of the family. So I think all of those, I've enjoyed every different career I've had. Certainly enjoyed, going to business school. And it's all sort of culminated in the last, what is it now? 18 years here, 18 years at Natori. So
It's crazy. I also wanted to be a Sports Center anchor, but I didn't really take those beyond just watching Sports Center as a kid.
yeah.
Uh, um, so I guess when you think about it, leading a global brand requires long-term strategy while keeping in mind the short-term goals that will get you to where you want to be. How do you determine when it's the right time to enter a new product category or explore a new market? How do you think about taking big business swings? I know, like for us at Karen, we always kind of listen to our customers first and let them kind of dictate what we're going to do next and why. But how are you thinking about it?
Yeah. So, to this day, our brand is still probably most known in the marketplace for high-end sleepwear and bras and underwear. And we've really been trying to take that brand equity that we've earned, and really to try to become a lifestyle brand across all categories. As you mentioned, doing everything from, home to clothing to hosiery to footwear to legwear, and obviously our great scrub partnership. But what people probably don't think about, which we do think about, is that more important than the categories that we try to enter into. Like, listen, we want to be in all categories. We want to be an
Yeah.
East meets West lifestyle brand. But instead of saying, hey, we really need to be in this category, let's find the right partner. I mean, sometimes we do that. But really, the most important thing I feel that determines whether something's successful or not is the quality of the partnership and the quality of the people you're working with. So, I mean, look at our partnership chat. We did not partner because we had this dream of saying, scrubs and healthwear were a natural extension of Natori.
Right.
We were placed together by people that we trusted. We got to know
Yeah.
each other and we're like, all right, there's chemistry here. We have share similar values in terms of how we view business and, what it means to run a company. So like it, even if something isn't necessarily like the first category you would think of, I and we would rather partner with people that we trust who share the same values with
Yeah.
than say like, hey, these people are in a really hot category that we want. I don't know if I fully trust them, but let's see how that works. Like we would always
Right.
take the former as opposed to the latter. And so I think, we're a family business to the degree we have licensed partners in different categories. Almost all of them are also, privately held businesses. And we just feel, really more important than anything is the quality of the people you're working with and like the trust you have in those people. Because without that, you could be in the hottest category or, with a partner that's on vogue, but without that trust or sharing the same values, might not be destined for success.
No, I love that. I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. When you think about it, I think it's because you guys are you are a family-owned business and you treat everyone there as family. I tell everyone one of the coolest things is how your mom texts me on my birthday and all holidays. I don't know how she has that memory, but it's pretty incredible, and it's just cool to know when we have issues, we can reach out to you. When we have things going well, we can reach out and I think that's what makes a collaboration so successful
Yeah,
to begin with.
that's funny.
Uh,
She forgot my birthday once, so I still
oh,
don't.
really?
I'll
Well,
never live that
I won't
down.
ask her who she likes better, I guess then. Um, but so I guess to your point, obviously you guys are very well known. I think every time I chat with someone, especially in the in clinical field, they're like, "Wait, is that Natori as in the sleepwear and lingerie company?" When you think about how we started working together with the Scrubs collection. How is that design process different than how you normally design for your core audience? And then, what lessons from that process, if any, have you been able to apply to other product categories or collaborations at Natori?
Yeah, so one thing about how people are like, so you work that closely with your mother, and I think we would both say, one of the keys to making it work is that we are very different in terms of how
Yeah,
we think. She's a design and a product person. Uh, she's very like, let's just go for it and, just very, inspirational. And I am very kind of process oriented and quite the opposite. So one's
yeah,
right brain, one's left brain. And what that means is we kind of split the business and do things more independently than one might think. There are very few meetings that we sit in together. And I think that helps both of us in terms of being able to run the business. So she, as you know, is like really most involved in the in terms of design and in terms of working with our licensees. Obviously, the process is much different. There are a lot of things where um, she wears, right? Like she
mhm,
whether
yeah,
it's our clothing, these are all things, she but I think with anything though, our ethos, our mission as a company is to really create products and experiences that make women feel fashionable and good about themselves. And I think, while that certainly rings true for all our sleepwear, for all of our clothing. And when it comes down to it, nurses, everybody, like when it comes down to that process, it's like, how can we differentiate what we're doing so that it is different? Anybody can make a product these days. Anybody can and
yeah,
put a label on it. But what we try to do throughout everything we do, whether it's our rugs, whether it's our towels, whether it's our sleepwear, whether it's our bras and underwear, and certainly in terms of scrubs, how are we making it different? Everything has a little bit of like that East meets West aesthetic, whether it is embellishments, whether it is our color palette, whether it's our prints, which aren't as, pervasive in our scrubs collection. But everything we do has to be a little bit different and have that sort of Natori angle on it, because otherwise, what's the point?
yeah. No, and I think it's to that point of like when we designed the scrubs together, it was even incorporating the trapunto stitch on the neck,
Hmm.
the placement of the pockets, the size of the pockets, things that a lot of people aren't really thinking about, but that you're able to leverage from your past experience and be like, hey, this is only going to help. So as you mentioned earlier, I think one of the things that is really incredible is just how long you guys have been around. You're coming close to your 50 years now, which is really remarkable. And I know when I started bringing you to the founders' dinners, you would always complain jokingly, "Well, I'm not a founder. I don't really deserve to be here." And my comment was, "Well, you are the president and you're driving innovation for the brand and for the company. How do you how do you, with such an established brand, how do you continue to drive innovation and while, to your point, staying true to your heritage?"
Yeah, we have to. We have to in it. So I joined the company in 2007, and at that point, our business model was very simple. We were exclusively a wholesaler and almost exclusively selling to high-end department stores, so Saks, Neiman Marcus, Bloomingdale's, Nordstrom, etc.
Yeah,
And if a new customer came on, they'd just be like, "Oh, it's the same thing, but just a little bit different." But we have had to innovate, and fortunately, we have because the world, in terms of how to get product into customers' hands, has changed immensely. I joined in 2007, was quickly tasked with launching Natori.com as an e-commerce site in 2008, which we did. We were early, we took a risk, but fortunately, we were early to that game, and that's certainly helped
yeah.
as the wholesale business has had its challenges over the last over the last couple of decades. But I think one of the reasons our employees like it here and why people enjoy working with us is that both Josie and I are very involved, but that also means like there's no bureaucracy here. Like we're involved in anything,
Right.
and if we want to do something, we just go do it. And we get that comment from a lot of customers being like, or a lot of vendors being like, "Wow, like let's just there's no red tape here. We guys just
Yeah.
go ahead and do it." And that has led us. And like, listen, we're both business people.
Hmm.
I certainly consider myself a business person first, and while Josie's involved in the design of everything, she's a business person first too. And if there's something that comes up that's like, "Hey, this is a new way to reach a customer or a new way to do business," and we can do it and it makes sense, like we'll just do it. So like whether it's we live streamed from our websites. We were
Yep.
incredibly early to do that. We've used artificial intelligence to power our paid social media since 2017. We did an activation on Roblox to we had a Natori
I
store on
remember
there to
that.
reach
Yeah.
to reach the younger customer. Um, and it's we have to innovate because like I said there's
Right.
so many there, there's so many brands that are trying to stay relevant. Every customer, even our most loyal customers, they get flashes, people coming up say, "Hey, here's a new brand, here's a new deal," all these reasons to take you away from the things that you may know the most. That if we're not being ahead of the game in terms of trying any of these new things, it's very easy, and you see it all the time, these companies and brands that are becoming less relevant because they're not pushing the envelope. They're not trying new things. Is everything going to succeed? Certainly not. But if you're not pushing to be different and pushing to get out there, I feel you do lose relevancy with the customer, and also you feel like you lose relevancy possibly to like your employees too, right? Like
Right.
they want to see. They're like, "What's this company doing?" Everybody talks about how hard the business is. If you're not out there trying to get ahead of the game, like people want to be part of the company that does that, not a company that's just kind of sitting around and resting on its laurels.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I do think, for what it's worth, it's very true in terms of you guys operate like a startup, even though you're a 50-year brand. I know when we decided to do the Arm Access shirt together, it was, "Hey, we've seen this problem," and we were like, "Yeah, this is something important to us too," and we just did it. And we obviously have evolved it over time and all that, but I think it's important to act and kind of you definitely want to plan and think through things, but you also need to be able to act quickly when the opportunity presents itself. Um, so thinking about like things that are always evolving, fashion and design continue to evolve day in and day out. And it seems that now more than ever, finding a way to integrate your brand into culture is so important in trend driving. Looking ahead, how do you see trends shaping the future of Natori, and are there lessons from these trends that could influence broader industries such as healthcare?
That's a very good question. So I think, the biggest trends that we think about really are how customers end up with our products at home. to use it, right? So that
Yeah.
used to just be, oh yeah, we would just sell to department stores. We got that covered. And now
Right.
obviously that's not the case anymore. And it's
Yeah.
not just e-commerce, right? Natori.com is an incredibly important part of our business. But
Right.
even that, even just, Natori.com plus the wholesale channel, that's not everything either, right? And so
Right.
now you look at different demographics. Everybody's trying to get younger. We're looking to set up TikTok shop. We're looking to do, all of these different things. So there's the pace at which the way consumers get products and experiences into their hands is changing faster than than companies can evolve. And obviously,
Oh
there are
yeah.
different demographics. Some people, the trends are, hey, as long as we're innovating on Notori.com, we're covered. But then if you are trying to get younger, the way that 20 something and the teens are shopping, that is changing incredibly, incredibly rapidly. So, as we think about innovating, as we think about the future, it really is having our core customers always going to be incredibly important, but then also just really you have to be hip. You have to be
Right.
in tune with all this stuff going on. You can't say, oh, that's not my customer. I don't really need to worry about that. That's too young because customers get older. And if you're not prepared for these very dramatic changes in terms of how customers are actually developing experiences and getting products in their hands, then once again, it's very easy to kind of become less relevant.
No, I love that. Um, so I guess some quick fire questions. What's a book that you've read recently that you recommend others to read?
This is, it's fun. I was gonna mention this before in our little pre-interview here, but I
Yeah.
didn't. But I have a book right here, chat, called, I don't know if you can see it here. It's called Disrupt
Disrupt
Everything
everything.
and Win. Disrupt Everything and Win. It's a book just
Hmm.
released by James Patterson and
Yep.
Patrick Ledden. It is a business book, and there is a company featured on page 100 that is us. So
Oh,
there's
awesome.
yeah, there's a whole chapter in here. I was going to mention it to you, and now
Yeah.
you're giving me a perfect opportunity to plug this. So this was released literally just last week. I saw a bunch of friends and employees sending us pictures from airports, being like, "Oh my God, the book is here!" But it's a James Patterson book. He and Patrick Ledden have been doing this huge media tour, and so we're hoping it'll be near the top. But there's a whole chapter on Natori and us being, particularly my mother, being a trailblazer and what
Yeah.
that means. And so it really is a great book, especially with everybody talking about AI and how that's going to this probably the biggest disruption of our lifetime. This is an incredibly, incredibly relevant book. So I highly
Love
encourage
that.
you to read Disrupt Everything and Win.
By James Patterson.
Yes.
Um, Amazing. I feel like every time I talk to you, you're getting ready to go somewhere. What's your favorite place that you visited, I guess, in the last 5 to 10 years?
Oh, wow, that's interesting. So I am going somewhere again this weekend.
Of course you are.
My son, who is a sophomore, he goes to, born and raised in Manhattan, but he goes to a boarding school in Ojai, California called Thatcher. Um, all his friends from his elementary school went to boarding school, but he is the only one that took the leap to go to this place in California. And it has been the most magical experience for him. It's a boarding school of 280 people. People are like, is it crazy to have a son, all the way across the country
Yeah.
at boarding school? And the answer is it is different, but he is having the most amazing experience. And I'm actually taking, my daughter's in eighth grade, and she's been out there 5 times, and she's thinking about going and applying this year.
Mm,
So I've always been a Northern California guy. Went to Stanford, have always loved it. Have never really loved Southern California, but since my son started at this school last year and have been out there a number of times, it has become a very special place because I'm seeing, I went to a boarding school, had a good experience. It was one of the most important decisions I've made, but to see how this school has impacted him and the relationships that he has built just over the last year and how much the school's already embraced my daughter, who's
yeah.
been out there 5 times, but they're like, it's just, it's really special to see, to see your kids be able to thrive in an amazing environment. So very
Yeah.
excited to go out there, and I have a newfound love of Ojai, Thatcher in Southern California.
Love that. Are you, what was I going to ask? Next question is, what is your favorite food or type of dish?
Favorite food or type of dish? That's a good one. I'm a huge fried chicken guy.
Hmm.
I love fried chicken.
Now, like
Um,
when you say fried chicken, is it like Bojangles, KFC, Popeyes, or more like
I, I
Dak or
I
something like
I
that?
will go. I'll do the whole range. I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Okay.
was. My grandparents, who I spent a lot of time with growing up in Bainbridge Island, Washington. Once a week, they would do the KFC. My grandmother was an amazing cook, but
Yeah.
we would go to get KFC. There was always like the crispy versus original argument. I always liked the original, but then I love really bougie fried chicken too.
Yeah.
I did my 40th birthday party at Red Rooster,
Oh, love that.
Marcus Samuelson restaurant, and
Yeah.
that's amazing. Fried chicken too. So I love Italian. I love Italian food, but I'll always have a soft spot in my heart for fried chicken,
Good to know.
which hopefully will not be clogging my heart. But it's
Yeah, exactly. Next time I want to make sure you come to one of our dinners, I'll put it at a fried chicken spot.
excellent, excellent.
And then lastly, you are in a unique situation where you work with your mother. Do you call her Josie, Miss Natori, or Mom at work?
Oh, that's a fantastic question, Chad. So, when I was at my second year in business school at Stanford,
Yeah.
I at that time I thought there was a 0% chance I was going to join the business. But I did take a family business class, not because I thought I needed to prepare for joining a business, just
Yeah.
because I thought it was interesting. And one of the things that was very clear in the class, they're like, if you're thinking about joining a business, you have to have all of these conversations laid out. Talk about your 3-year plan, your 5-year plan, your 10-year plan. Talk about equity, talk about comp. Lay out, make sure that you and your family are all aligned and you think
Right.
about all this stuff before you join the business. We did zero of that. It was
Ah,
like so unprepared. And
yeah.
I wish. And one thing I didn't think about was like, what should I call her? And so I think on the first couple email chains or the first meetings, I was saying mom, and I was like, you know what? People feel a little bit weird about that, and
Yeah.
understandably so. So I, on emails, she's known as JCN, so I call
Hmm.
her JCN. Sometimes call her Josie to people that don't know the JCN thing.
Yep.
Um, if I'm sending an email just to her, I will call her mom. But if anybody else is involved, I try to avoid that because I could see how that would be a little bit
Yeah.
uncomfortable.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
think you've ever called her mom in an email with me. That's
yeah.
JCN all the time.
Yes, a lot of JCN, a lot of
Yeah.
JCN.
I still remember her yelling at me when I used to write Miss Natori or call her Miss Natori. Because Pamela still calls her Miss Natori all the time. And she was like, no, 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 you should call me Josie or JCN.
Hmm. I think she secretly wants you to call her Ms. Natori, but
Oh, does she? Okay. I'll start doing that
I'm
then.
just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm half kidding.
Amazing.
I'm not really sure. But if she went out of her way to tell you that, then you could go with that.
Then
But
I can go with that.
yes,
Yeah.
that's one thing I don't call her. I don't call her Mrs. Natori. That's
No. Amazing. Well, Ken, this has been absolutely incredible as always. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to chat with us and excited to keep doing great things together and helping even more people with what they wear in and out of the hospital. And yeah, thank you guys so much for such a great partnership and excited to do more.
No, of course, we appreciate the partnership. I think we share, besides our companies, you and I share the appreciation for um, networking, getting out there, putting out content, and what that means. Like enjoy it. I think you enjoy it too. It's fun, but it makes a difference in a lot
Yeah.
of different ways. So appreciate being on this journey together.
No, for